All right. First day of Buggy, kind of done and dusted, and nothing like a good old shower at the end of the day.
Yeah, I didn't wash my shirt off good enough, so I had to switch.
Well, the good thing is that the track's not going to change for the first round because they say that rain really changes this track, even though it's covered. The humidity really changes this track, so it poured like 2 minutes after we just got done with the first round of qualifiers. So
Yeah, and it's still dripping out there.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm here with the president of Roar. This is Clayton Young. Clayton, welcome to Wheel and Trigger.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here,
Yeah, man. So
especially when we're drinking beer.
hey, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to a great day. Uh, I don't know what it's like to be in your situation for the most part. Maybe not in RC, or maybe in something else in my past. But how do you think coming into this? So the two-part question. Coming into this, I know there's plenty of talk and doubt and all this other stuff. And then the second question, what do you say to that? And then the second question I have for you is, to this point, after we finished 3 classes and 1 day of Nitro Buggy, how do you think everything's going?
So, honestly, because we reached out to the manufacturers and drivers, we had a lot of good input to get a good idea of what we needed to do. I would say the first couple days were very hectic on all parts, not as bad for Roar as it was for the drivers. And fortunately, because we want the relationship with everybody, we were able to get that input of, hey, you are killing us. We need to slow this down. We're going to go on strike. So we were able to modify what we had originally planned to make it not so crazy. I think we could still do better next year. Now that we have an idea of how crazy and intense it's going to be to try and run 3 classes all on the same day, multiple qualifiers, we probably need to rethink that so it takes the tempo down a little bit.
Yep.
But honestly, the drivers here, the attitudes here have been amazing. Amazing. People are saying that, they're having a great time. It's the best Roar event they've been to. Those are the things I love to hear.
Yep.
I've been going to Roar events for 20 years, and, this is the most fun I've ever had. Cheers. Have more beer. Let's have fun, The whole idea was to change the mindset of not just Roar, but the community towards Roar.
Absolutely.
So, I don't think we had... we definitely had some naysayers. Where there was some drama long before the event. But now we're at the event, and the people that have come and talked to me, there's very few people with bad attitudes. Most of it's really positive. So I would say it's going fairly well, and in all the feedback I'm getting so far.
Yeah, I've talked to people throughout the few days we've been here, and I've gotten nothing but constructive feedback. No big, you guys suck or this is terrible. But definitely people have, in their mind a solution to any problem that we have. But that doesn't mean that their solution's the right solution. I think the feedback we are getting, though, has been very positive in the sense that we can work with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not just hatred towards Roar or the schedule or whatever. It's more towards wow, this was a lot of work. I hope we can fix this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because most people are on board with combining.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see a lot of people bad about that.
E-buggy registrations are... I doubt that we've ever had more e-buggies at any race.
Yeah.
In a Roar race. Not saying the big races out there don't have more.
Right.
But as a Roar event, I don't think we've ever seen this many e-buggies.
Yeah, Lucas and I were talking about this on the plane out here. It's do you think this is going to be the most competitive e-nats in history? And I'm not a big history buff on the e-nats, so I don't know when everyone kind of stopped going to them or when the entries dwindled. But I feel definitely because they could use this national electric cars as part of track time,
Right.
that we did get all the top dogs in America to participate. And I think that this will also show that it can be done for future Roar Nationals.
Yeah, I think the only person I haven't seen is Born Horse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's retired.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we would love to have old Bo Jornhorse here hanging out with us. Big fan of the show, and we miss him dearly. But he's got that baby girl, and I talked to him the other
Babies
day.
change everything.
Yeah, I talked to him the other day. He said he's playing a lot of golf and doing a lot of family time. So
That's
good
great.
for him.
That is great.
So what is your take? You know, you've been to this is your third Fuel Nats, right?
So
Were you
I've
at
been
Chico?
to a couple others. The first time we were in Hutto was my first foray into RMT as competition director, and we didn't have enough people here, so I was thrust into the announcer role.
Oh wow.
Not having announced really anything ever, all of a sudden you're announcing the biggest event of Roar. And Spencer Rivkin, love him to death, he came in very first race. He was like, hey, I'm Spencer Rivkin. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't know who he was. Like, okay, that's great. But by main day, I was so excited throughout the entire event, my voice was gone. We had to get a local track announcer to announce the finals.
Oh, wow.
I could barely make it through semis. And Spencer came up later. He's like, yeah, I could tell on the first day how excited you were. You weren't going to make it to the end.
Yeah. You got to
Like-
pace yourself as a race director for sure. But so this is your, as far from when I know that you started coming and when we met, this is your third one. You went to Chico as president,
That was
as a
first.
new president right
Yep.
then. And then last year we're in Idaho, and now we're here. And I got to say, one of the reasons that I got on the committee was because I wanted to help with solution and make it better because I had a lot of complaints.
Right.
And ever since you've gotten on board, and there's been some new committee members that have really taken a step in the right direction, in my opinion. I feel like everything's gelling, but the last 3 years of Fuel Nationals have been great. They've been competitive. They've had entries. They've been at great tracks. Where do you see the future of Fuel Nats, which is the premier Roar National of the year, of all the nationals that are put on?
Correct.
Where do you see it going moving forward?
I see it being more and more prestigious. As Roar is getting things right, manufacturers are wanting to be involved more, racers are wanting to be involved more, and we're taking back the prestige of a national. I think I feel like that's the way it's going. Next year we're going to be at A-Main for the nationals. That is another great top-notch facility just like this one. So I would expect we'll probably have some tweaks in the schedule. Not probably. We will definitely have some tweaks in the schedule to make things not so stressful for everybody. But I only see bigger and better things. We did a max cap of 450 this year. We could probably do a 500 entry race. I don't want to get crazy like DNC because I don't want us to go running 12 hours a day or 24 hours a day stuff. I still want to get out to one of their races and see how they're doing it. I'm sure there's things we can do better. And I always love feedback and input. As long as you've got a solution to a problem, I love it. If you're just telling me we got a problem, I'm like, okay, great. How do we fix it?
Right.
Like, what do we got to do different? So
That's definitely indicative of the keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
And the more and more I look at those comments that come through on Roar's Facebook channel and different things, the more I realize that those people aren't and will never be a Roar customer in a sense. They're people that don't come around, and maybe some of them can be convinced. Maybe some of them are, had a bad experience like I did, or a lot of people did, and they just don't understand how it works. I try to explain to people because it's like an HOA. The Roar committee is not, it can't move fast. We have, what we did for this event was the fastest anything's moved since I've been on the committee.
Yeah, definitely.
And so people don't understand, you want this changed, but it doesn't just work where you can't just change something tomorrow so that people have to abide by it.
Yeah, we got to bring it to committee. Everybody's got to get a chance to look at it. Half of them won't want to vote until they get time to get more research on the subject. And then after they do that, they want a different meeting so that we can vote and talk about it some more. It's kind of like the whole herding of cats to get things done. There's definitely some things, like for this race, we had some discussions about tires and stuff. And those, because I'm race directing, you know, a dual role, you can kind of say, hey, look, I understand we want to make things better in the future, so that's when we will take those changes, is in the future. We're not going to change them right before our nationals. And that's kind of been my stance all along ever since I took over. Even if there's something, unless it's for the benefit of the racers, we're not changing a rule within 30 days of a race, because most people have already been practicing, already been to the track, already learned everything they
They've
need to
already
learn.
bought products.
Yeah.
You know, they're ready to show up and race.
Yep.
Because they know, most people know waiting until the last minute is tough to go racing properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the common sense approach that has been taken has been really a breath of fresh air. And like I said, I've talked to a lot of the guys who I've either got to know really well over the years or friends of mine, and I hear nothing but good things. But how do you think we can please, as a committee, how do you think Roar can please more people? Like, what is it that makes these people think that having a governing body of rules and regulations is not good for a hobby with so many people in it?
So I feel like because we're just rules focused seemingly as a committee, that we're not reaching out, we're not advertising, we're not working with sponsors enough. We are definitely leaps and bounds beyond where I thought we could be this quick, but ultimately the shaking of the hands, the just going out having a beer with somebody, like, they can be mad at you, but until you understand and they understand you, it's both sides of the conversation. It's not just I feel this way and they feel that way, but understanding where I'm coming from, where they're coming from. If you just do it from one side, it's never going to work. You got to be able to take and say, you know what, I totally get that. I can understand how you got there. Sometimes it's still wrong. Like, I had a driver that said he was going to break the radio over some kid's head, and I'm like, look, I understand you're frustrated, but we can't say that. You may think it, but never can it come out. Like, I'm a racer, you're a racer. We all get this. We've been there. We've been frustrated, and something happened that we perceived to be one way, but in reality, it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
There's like the race, and then there's a race that happened in your head. And a lot of times, those two things are not the same.
Not even close. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that the people, you know, they need to experience it. They need to come out and make a decision based on an experience, not hearsay. And like we talked about while we were walking over here to do this podcast, people need it. It's totally lost my thought. But
It's the beer.
It's not yet. I think it's the long days, but today was actually
Long
really
days
nice.
and sun. And
Yeah, I apologize. There was a thought there that I wanted to say, and it'll probably come to me. Well, I don't want to keep you long, but I want to tell you that RMT is doing a great job.
Awesome.
I think we're coming from a racer at this event and a sponsor and someone that's part of the industry. I think that Roar's done a fantastic job with this event. And what I really admire is that you, especially because you have the final say right now, you're actually talking with the racer, asking them. They're not making a decision based on your thoughts, on just a few people's thoughts. You're polling the field, and I think people respect that. I think that there's going to be some discussion after this event. Obviously, I've already seen it on the internet, the people saying, how can they do that? Why are they doing that? But they're not here. They don't know the conditions and what we're going through. And we were as prepared as we could be as a committee. But you can never predict, especially with a new schedule like this, the outcome or what's going to, how it's going to go. But I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. It's moving along smoothly. Today, people were twiddling their thumbs, where the last 3 days they were like thrashing. So I think everyone's chilled out now, and it's ready for the premier class in all of RC.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the more people come to these races, and the more the people that have been to the races tell everybody else out there that the experience is actually really good. They feel like they're validated. They feel like everything was as fair as possible. The penalties are being called for rough driving. Sure, we can't catch everything. That track is ginormous. We have two people out there looking the whole time. And we've got people coming in pit lane. We've got all these things. and we're not going to catch everything, but catching most of it, and even listening to a person that we didn't catch something, like, hey, I'll go back and look at that. I get it.
Sure.
And, we'll keep an eye on things. If there's a heated contest, between a couple drivers, we'll go back and say, hey, look, y'all need to calm down. We had starts in the mains where we had restarts because everybody took each other out in the first corner. We did a restart. I told everybody on the stand, y'all need to calm down. Straight to them. Like, go to them and speak to them.
Yeah.
That's what gets everybody's attention. And hopefully they realize that we care. Like, ultimately, we care. We want to put on the best show out there, and we want to have the best competition on the track. We want things settled on the track. We don't want things settled because we don't have headlight stickers or we put the wrong number on the car. Like, yes, that's annoying as a race director, but it's overcomable by saying, okay, I can see where he came through on the loop as the wrong car. Hey, make sure you get that fixed so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. And once again, common sense approach, not trying to make it unenjoyable, but having to enforce rules that are in place for a reason. And I think that, moving forward, people should, I'm not saying everyone should just become a Roar member and attend Roar races, but you should probably give Roar a chance because it's different than it has been. I
Yes.
guess that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, and you could talk to the Hudo people because the
That's
last race
very
we
true.
did here, it did not go so well from their perspective because they had to put out a lot more than what they signed up for.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if you speak to any of them now, they would tell you it was night and day difference. We're not done yet. And I tell them, they're like, everything's going so great. I'm like, hey, wait till we're all done. All the races are done because there's always going to be some kind of drama.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have something that wasn't quite right. Somebody forgot to marshal. Somebody did this or that. And somebody's going to want to try and, get them disqualified, get something thrown out. The way I deal with it is the same way for everybody. If I come to you because you forgot to marshal and you tell me exactly the truth, what happened, I'll have you marshal the next race. And if you do it again, you'll have a problem.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Like the pros, one of them didn't come out there because he didn't think their spot was there. But, like, we did put a spot out there. So I found him in the pit. I'm like, hey, why aren't you out there? Whoa, I didn't think there was a spot. I'm like, no. There is a spot, and you missed it. He's like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, look, I'm not taking your best run, but you're going to marshal the next race. He's like, absolutely, it won't happen again. So sorry.
Yeah.
And, again, people aren't trying to be malicious and do things wrong.
Yeah.
They just aren't. Sure, there is some people that are getting upset about something here or there, and in the moment, they may behave badly. But after things cool down, you go back and talk to them again. 99.9% of the time, they cool down. They're sorry for what happened, and everything's better for it.
Yeah.
At Hoosier, we had two drivers screaming at each other, cussing at each other on the track in front of the whole world.
I'm pretty sure I remember that.
Yeah, and so I took them both back, and I said, all right, you sit here, come back here with me, talk to them down. They had the best main of the whole weekend. In the main, they battled back and forth. They were jumping over each other, cutting inside, never touching. But amazingly, for 3 or 4 laps, they battled back and forth, and it was amazing. Like,
Nice.
They put on the best show ever. So, again, yes, we can get bad at the wrong times, but we can also turn it around and make the best of things.
I agree. And I think that's what's going on here. And I think that anybody who's ever been on the fence or had a bad experience in the past, if you want to come and race the biggest race of the year, let's call it one of the most prestigious races of the year in the United States, you should definitely try the Roar Nationals. I mean, like you said, next year we're in Chico. We got the Worlds here next year. That was another
here.
thing that you brought up, or that you said during the drivers' meeting today. You brought up the fact that, look, guys, we're not trying to dick around and make life hard for you, but if you make Worlds, or if you tend on racing Worlds, these rules that we might let you slide on, or that might be a close infraction, will not fly with IFMAR.
Right.
So you telling them up front, like, we're not trying to bust you on every little thing. However, we do want to prepare you
Yeah.
because as the group of United States, American RC racers, we want to win our home worlds. Like, that's a big deal.
No, we want to lock the A out.
Yeah, well, which would be amazing.
The final, because this isn't a letter, there'll be a ladder. But we want to lock that thing out.
If that is
all the USA drivers challenge.
I would love to say, like, I'll put $100 on it. I can't.
I will buy them all dinner on me. I'll pay for it myself. I'll take the whole team out if we could lock out the A right now. You say where, we'll go do it.
Bar tab on Beach RC. If he buys the dinner, I'll buy the bar if we can lock out the entire A main for sure. Well, look, I know you've had a long day. You got people probably waiting on you. I appreciate you sitting down with us. Maybe by the end of the week we talk and see how we feel then and how things go. But I really appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the next few days go.
Thank you for having me on. And I do want to do a shout-out to the RMT team because they are killing it out there, announcing, doing tech. I really appreciate it. Even Crowder helping me do RD, calling penalties and making sure things are right. People are stepping where they're not supposed, or keeping out of where they're supposed to be. I want to give them a huge shout-out. So thank you guys very much. And thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. We appreciate you guys. Wheel and Trigger, like, subscribe, do your thing, and we will be back with someone else real soon.
Peace out.